want to swim faster, you need Sprint Revolution resistance equipment. This isn't just gear, it's a game changer. Our propellers, power socks, stretch cords, parachutes, and paddles are all designed to build explosive speed and power in the water. If you're serious about taking your swim to the next level, you need the best resistance gear out there. Sprint Revolution, where speed is born.
I want to plug some SWIMNERD. SWIMNERD. Go to swimpractice.com. Go there, buy a pace clock. If you don't need a full industry-sized pace clock, get the mini pace clock. They're brilliant. I've got a couple of them. If you've got a pool that hasn't got a pace clock, put it down, you program your set on it, and it just takes care of the rest. Swimpractice.com. Get yourself a SWIMNERD pace clock.
And we're on, mate. Patrick Williams, good friend of mine. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing wonderful. So wonderful to be with you this afternoon.
I appreciate it, man. Tell everyone where you're coming from.
Well, I am sitting in my house in Boaz, Alabama. Probably most of your listeners have no idea where that is, but we're about 60 miles south of Huntsville, Alabama, and about 50 miles north of Birmingham. So right between those two big cities.
Yeah. I haven't been back there in a while, actually. To Alabama itself, but it's football season back in Alabama. Everyone's going crazy again, hey?
Yeah, everything's in full swing. We've been playing high school here. We're about to start our third week of high school. So, and then the colleges, their second week. So crazy times here in the South for sure.
Well, it's good to talk to you about high school because I actually just took over a team, the Barracudas, just like the Boaz Barracudas swim team. Yeah, my team's the Barracudas too, and you coached the Boaz Barracudas high school team for many years. Did you just officially retire just recently?
Yeah, I did. Just at the end of this summer. So the Boaz Barracudas is our summer team, and then the Boaz high school team are the Boaz Pirates. So we have that season. We're about to crank out. We actually have our first high school meet coming up on Tuesday. So I'm still helping with the high school team, but I did retire from the Barracudas.
Now the high school season, from what I understand, is a short season. Maybe like 3 months or something, is it?
Yeah, it's about 3 months. Actually, they just shortened it here in Alabama. It used to run really from the end of August to the first weekend in December. But they have just done away with the sectional high school meets here in Alabama. So we have just the state meet. So you're going to swim your dual meets, invitationals, and that kind of thing to try to get a qualifying time for the state high school meet, which this year is going to be in Huntsville. It's been in Auburn for years, but because of the college football playoff and the possibility that Auburn could host a playoff game that weekend, they didn't feel like they could have that traffic on campus, with a high school meet. So they moved the high school meet to Huntsville. This is actually going to be the second year they've had it in Huntsville because during COVID, Huntsville hosted it that one year. So a little closer for us actually to be able to do that.
Huntsville's got a nice pool too.
They really do. The Huntsville Aquatic Center is really nice.
Right. Yeah.
Great for spectating.
All right, so let's dig into high school swimming a bit. I don't often get high school coaches come on here and talk. It's usually Olympic coaches, Olympic athletes.
Yeah.
So you might even be my first high school coach. So we're gonna learn some stuff here today. So, in terms of how obviously you're dealing with the kids that go to the school. So how do you even open up recruiting? How do you open up a tryout? What do you do first of all to get a team?
Well, a lot of our kids are products of our club team, our summer rec team.
Okay.
And it's almost like for us, it's almost like an extension of everything kind of works hand in hand. So a lot of our kids are already with us in the summer, and the high school season is just an extension of that for them. So, but we do have student athletes who will join the team, join the high school team that have never been on a team before. So, there's a little bit of teaching that goes on a lot with kids at that level, but we usually, we start a week or so after high school starts. We'll start practice, every day, Monday through Thursday for us, and until we start meets, which like I said, for us is this Tuesday is our first one. And in high school in Alabama, you're allowed 8 dual meets That includes diving. So if you have a diving meet, that would count as well toward your number of meets. So what we have done at Boaz, and we typically host about 4 high school meets during the season now.
Right.
For us, a lot of times we'll attach the diving meet to the high school meet, but have it on a separate day. So we'll have, for instance, we'll have diving on a Thursday or on a Tuesday, and have the swimming on a Thursday, something like that. So to make sure that we're trying to accommodate everybody that has divers, because there's just not a lot of diving meets around, and you don't want to go into the state meet cold. You want to give them an opportunity to get on a board and do some things before the state meet comes around.
So even at the state championships, diving is included in winning the state title.
It is. It's attached to that. So if you have divers and they score, that's a really, really good advantage for your team, because most schools don't have divers, especially schools our size. Now, we're a 5A school, and in Alabama, there are 2 divisions for the Alabama High School Athletic Association. You have 1A through 5A, which is considered the smaller schools. And then you have 6A, 7A, which are the larger schools. So you're going to have more divers in the larger schools, because those are going to be concentrated from the larger cities. So if you have a diver or 2 and you're a 1A, 5A school, and they score, that really goes a long way toward helping you win.
Yeah, I bet. And now, if you're a smaller school, I imagine you're not going to have a separate swim coach and diving coach, do you?
We don't. Our swim coach actually does the diving too, and we don't have but a couple, 3 divers, so it's pretty easy for them to get in there, and he watches a lot of videos, and he's done really well for the very short period of time that he's been involved in diving. So
I understand the water aspect, but they're 2 completely different sports.
No doubt.
Putting them together, I mean, that's tough for a swim coach to say, hey, go over there and coach the divers, or a diving coach, go over there and coach the swimmers. They're 2 different things.
It really is. And, they're not there are a lot more swimming coaches that can instruct other swim coaches to help them become better.
Right.
There's not a lot of that in diving.
No.
So, you get on YouTube, you learn things, you watch the Olympics and learn all you can. Right.
Jeez.
Watch the Chinese.
Yeah. What's the Chinese do there? 4.5 tuck hike, like good luck with that. But, well, that's wild. So, all right. So you get some kids turn up and they say, I want to be part of the swim team. And you got 3 months to get them to a level where they can compete. But even beyond that, they're competing before that, I imagine. So then how do you take someone from scratch and then find an event for them and get them strong enough to be able to race?
Well, fortunately, the National Federation of High Schools, 2 of their events are 50 free and 100 free. So if you can get them acclimated in those 2 events, and they may not make a state qualifying time, but you're giving them that goal. Hey, this is the goal to get to the state meet. And you teach them how to swim freestyle just as fast as they can for a 50 or a 100. They're going to have some success, because we wind up swimming 8 meets. We really do. There are a lot of teams that don't like to do that, especially these teams that are associated with their club, and they think they would rather see fewer meets and more practice time. But we wind up going ahead and swimming 8 meets to give our swimmers every opportunity they have to get a qualifying time in numerous events. That gives us a little bit more flexibility of how we go into the state meet. But those that are just joining the team, if you can get them to do that 50 or 100, and they've got 8 chances to lower their time, then they're going to find some personal success. And that's what it's all about, being part of the team.
You must see some crazy, transformations then, maybe you just get a talented kid who's never really known that they could swim or had the talent to swim. And then they get in, they do a little bit of work, and you're like, hang on, this kid's pretty good, right?
Yeah. We had a young man who came to us. He was 13. And by the time he graduated from high school, he won multiple gold medals at the high school state meet. So that was a transformation over years. But when we saw him in the water for the first time, we said, this kid is going to be really special for us. And he wound up being that way.
Isn't it funny? Like you can identify talent pretty much straight away, can't you? Like
Yeah.
you just throw a kid in water and you can see the way they kind of manipulate it and deal with it and understand it just kind of intuitively, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty inherent, and I think you can see that in breaststroke more than you can anything else. You know, if you've got a kid who can come in and automatically do breaststroke kick, you think, hey, this kid can do something for us, because to me that's the hardest thing from an age group coach or a high school coach. That's the hardest thing to teach, is how to do that breaststroke kick correctly and get those feet pointed out. And you have some that just never get it, but then the ones that can get in and do that, you know, hey, this kid's going to be teachable, and not only breaststroke, but every stroke we want to cover.
Yeah. I imagine you're setting them up with the life skill of being able to swim too, you know, which is something special. And there's always that entry point in swimming where it's like it's expensive to go and join a club and go pay the dues and that sort of thing. But joining the high school and then all of a sudden getting introduced this way, and then having a great teacher like you and mentor, and then taking them through for a couple of years. I mean, that kind of opens up a lot of opportunities for kids to then, move into the swimming world, right?
It does. You know, it doesn't cost a dime to swim on the high school team for us. You know, we raise all our money by hosting meets and charge entry fees to the other team. So we don't have to do any fundraisers. We don't have to ask them for any money. And so it's something that they can come in and do for, absolutely free, and be a part of a team. And then once they get on the high school team, you say, hey, why don't you maybe think about swimming with us next summer? And, we charge a fee for swimming on the summer team, but it's, it's like $75 for 3 months of swimming. That's pretty good.
Right. Yeah.
And then, they continue to love it and enjoy the sport. Hey, why don't you join the club team? It's going to be a little bit more expensive, but we see something in you. Maybe that's something you need to think about. And hopefully their parents might make that commitment as well, going forward. And it just changes their life. It really does.
For sure. I mean, swimming is the greatest life skill you can teach, I think. And swim coaches like you, teachers like you, are severely appreciated and underpaid, but like imagine the skill that you're giving a kid who is afraid of the water, and all of a sudden you're putting them in this situation. They're loving it. They fall in love with competition, but then they can go anywhere for the rest of their lives and swim in any body of water, pretty much anywhere around the world, can't they?
Absolutely. We don't talk about it. I know Rowdy talks about it a lot, about being able to survive, right? If you're in water, being able to survive, and teaching those kids those kind of skills to be able to survive in water, but also thrive in water,
Right.
It gives us great joy to be able to see them have that kind of success.
Do you ever deal with kids whose families may be afraid of the water, like the entire family's afraid of water, and then all of a sudden they see their kids swimming and it just changes the way they feel about water?
Yeah, we see that a lot. In fact, we have a pretty large Hispanic population here in our part of the country, and most of those people from that culture didn't grow up around water, didn't grow up around pools, and we have a lot of kids who are interested in the sport from that culture, and we've been able to ingrain that in them, and you won't believe how much it's caught fire among the families in that culture. They bring their relatives and they bring their friends, and they love watching their kids compete and excel and learn how to swim from the very scratch, because that's really most of those kids we're teaching from absolute scratch, how to get in the water, and how to breathe, how to kick properly, and we see a lot of success from that culture that a lot of places around the country don't have that. So
right. How many are you carrying on your team, man, boys and girls?
we've got about 30 combined on the high school team. This year, I think we got about 20 boys and about 10 girls. For a school that's our size, is a good size high school team. Our summer team has about 130 on it.
Wow.
And those are kids ages 4 to 18.
Wow.
we're a population. Our town is a population of only about 10,000 people. So to
Yeah.
have a team that size, I think speaks pretty highly of the commitment our city has made to the sport. And then our USA team has probably 85 to 90 kids on it. So they're doing well.
I mean, you talk about, the school being committed, even to have a pool. This is what I love about America. Like you got a town of 10,000 people and they have it's an indoor pool, right?
It is. You came to our outdoor pool that we had a number of years ago.
Yeah.
It was arguably the worst facility in this area. But our city decided to build a new recreation center, and part of that was going to be an auditorium. And we got that finished around 5 years ago, and it has been unbelievable transformationally for our city, not only for our team, but also for the health and welfare of our citizens. We have people who come and lap swim, and they were never able to do that in our old pool. So and we have people from surrounding areas that come in and do it. So it's really serving a large population. And I really appreciate the commitment that our mayor and council made to build that facility. And it's great for watching swimming too. They allowed me to be part of the planning process, and which I think was huge for the swim coach to be able to be in on that. So we have it's a great place to watch swimming. It's a great place for the kids to compete, and it's a fast pool, to be honest.
What is it? A 6-lane, 8-lane? What is it?
It's an 8-lane, 25-yard pool. Yeah. Dang. So our summer team swims yards. Our high school team swims yards. We don't do anything long course here as far as meters are concerned. So it really fit the needs of what we needed for our town and how we compete. And it's just really great for us.
Good for them. Hey, what do you think the financial commitment on something like that is? Pretty decent these days, right?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I know the exact commitment it was. It was about a $12 million project, and it actually came in under budget, believe it or not. They did a great job, and it was about $12 million for the whole facility.
That's amazing. How cool is that? Like to have that now, and that thing will last. They look after that. It's going to last. 30, 40, possibly 50 years.
Yeah,
so,
no question.
The impact that's going to have on the community, but wow, they're good for them. How cool is that? That's a great story in itself. That you got that sort of commitment in that pool. And is it a pool where you could hold a championship, or is it just good for dual meets?
We have held our summer championship meet there actually a couple of times. The only issue we have is there are no lanes for warm down. We have the 8 lanes and that's it. So there's no warm up, warm down lanes. So that kind of puts us in a little bit of a situation. We do have an outdoor pool, but it's more of a recreational. We could probably put a couple of lanes out there for that if we needed to. We haven't gotten to that point yet, but we have talked about it. So they're thinking about maybe trying to host a couple of bigger meets than what we've done.
Now you mentioned the 50s at high school meets. What's the event order? Like, what do they go up to?
The largest yardage is a 500 free.
Okay.
We have a few 200s mixed in there. We have a 200 IM. We have a 200 freestyle. Everything else are 100s, and then you have the 50 free. So you have 100 fly, 100 back, 100 free, 100 breast, 500 free, as I mentioned. And then we have 3 relays. So you have the 200 free relay, you have the 200 medley relay, and then the last event of a high school meet is the 400 free relay. So
I think that should be the Olympic event.
Yeah, we get through it pretty quick. Yeah.
Yeah, LA 2028 order, like we should do that. Sounds like a meet that I want to attend,
Yeah. We can get through with one in about 2 hours.
Really? 2 hours? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. See, 2-hour meets. What's the point of sitting at a meet all weekend long? My parents didn't want to do it. For sure. Went to a lot of meets alone. I know that.
Yeah.
And now I'm in Southern California. I'm kind of talking to some of the other coaches. Like, we got to shorten up the meet events schedule.
Yeah. Now our summer swim, they're 86. We have 86 events, so we get through those in about 3.5 hours. But they're all 25s for 8 and unders and 50s for everybody else. And then we do have 100 frees, but we get through those pretty quick.
Yeah, gotta love that. Well, that's cool, man. That is awesome. One of the other reasons why we wanted to chat today is you and I have some history, man. We go back a fair bit, and the first time we met each other was in kind of tragic circumstances, unfortunately. But we're friends for life now. But October 2nd, 2010 was kind of a big day for you and your family in terms of the impact that it's had for everlasting impact on your family, and again, it brought us together in a way that we're friends for life. So, talk to the audience here about kind of what happened back then.
October 2nd, 2010 was really the worst day of my life because our son Peyton had gone to with my mother and my nephew to an Auburn football game. And on their way home, they had a wreck. And as a result of that wreck, my son sustained injuries where he did not survive. So he passed away on October 2nd, 2010, just one day short of his 14th birthday, which was October 3rd. So it was a very tragic circumstance for us, obviously. It was an extremely tough day to get to. And every year we're coming up on the anniversary of that date here in just about a month. So
Right.
every year during this time, is a really tough thing to think about and even talk about, but it's something that I feel like I need to do.
Yeah. Well, you immediately made me feel bad, terrible in terms of just taking me back to that day, because I remember the weekend, right? It was it was meant to be kind of a celebration because
Yep.
Cam Newton was playing for Auburn, and it was just one of those things where there was a buzz around town and everybody was feeling good, right? It was just it was a great place to be. It was a great place to live, and I was the head coach of the swim team, and it was just things were clicking. We had just come off a national championship the year before, and it was just all good at the time. And then I remember waking up the next morning and on Sunday and reading the paper and seeing this in the newspaper. But the thing that really struck me is that Peyton was a swimmer, and he had maybe some intentions and goals or some visions of swimming at Auburn as well one day, and I remember reading the article in the newspaper, and it just hit me, just kind of like it hit me then when you were talking, so.
Yeah, he had Peyton didn't swim for a long time. I started coaching the summer team here in Boaz when I was 17 years old back in 1988, and I coached the team off and on. And Peyton had gotten to where he wanted to play baseball, so I had stepped away from swimming, went and coached him a little bit in that sport, and in 2009. He decided he wanted to try swimming again. So we started going to practice. Actually, a couple of my former swimmers were coaching the team at that time, and he got involved and really, really loved the sport. No surprise, right? And so the two kids who were coaching the team at that time were going off to college and were not going to be coaching anymore. And I said, I'm going to be coming to practice every day. My kid's going to be swimming. I'm going to coach the team again. So I started coaching again in 2010, that summer. And so Peyton swam for me that summer with a lot of his buddies. And then we fast forward to later that fall. He goes to this Auburn game on that weekend. He's having a great time. He goes to Tiger Walk and sends me a text. I just touched Cam Newton and Gene Chizik. I will never wash again.
Wow.
Just having a great time. And then, they have the wreck and his little life is snuffed out. And, I don't get to coach him anymore. And that was a tough place to be. And so what I did, obviously, Brett, you know me, but I leaned very, very heavily on my faith in Christ. I'm very devoted to Christ, but more importantly than that, Christ is devoted to me. And my wife and I, my daughter, we all worked through that by God's grace.
Mhm.
It rolled around to the next summer. I had a decision to make about whether I was going to coach again, whether it was going to be too tough to do that.
Right.
Peyton had gotten his schedule changed. I was teaching business technology at the time in eighth grade, and he had gotten his schedule changed to be in my class. And so all through that school year, when his class period rolled around, I had to look at that empty chair, and that was really tough. I had some great coworkers who helped me get through all that. But when summer rolled around, I had a decision to make about whether I was going to be able to coach or not. And so I just decided that I would commit myself to his memory and to my God, and to coach the team, and to coach it harder and better than I ever had before, to love the kids more than I ever had before, to make them want to be a part of this great sport that my son loved.
Mm.
And so I would say that from that point on, our team has had more success from a team standpoint, from an individual standpoint, certainly from a coaching standpoint, than we ever had before. And we had some good success prior to that, but we were able to take our team to new levels after that event happened. I fully believe it was God's blessings upon us, but we were able to grow the team. And I started doing something at the end of each summer. I started giving a Peyton Williams award in memory of him every year. It became a very, very meaningful award. And just what kind of teammate are you? What kind of example do you set? Because Peyton wasn't the most talented kid. He wanted to swim at Auburn for sure, but he wasn't the most talented kid in the world. But he worked hard, and he encouraged his teammates. He loved being on relays so he could cheer his relay buddies on. And so this award kind of embodied him. What kind of teammate are you? Do you cheer for your teammates? Do you work hard in practice? Do you attend practice regularly? Do you want to get better? Because that was the kind of kid he was. That was the kind of swimmer he was. And it became a very coveted award. I always gave it last at our awards banquet at the end of the summer. And typically when I gave that award, there was a lot of tears that flowed.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting you say all that too, because I got an email yesterday from one of the parents of the club here that I'm starting to coach, and in it was basically, what are the goals of the team? What are we trying to achieve here? And when you think about that stuff, as swim coaches, we think, well, we want to go straight to time, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
That's not the goal.
No.
The time is not the goal. The time's just a flash on the board for a split second. It tells you something. It's a result at the end. But all the stuff that you just talked about, that's the goal, isn't it?
It really is. We could talk about getting in the pool and pushing our kids to be the absolute best, but the thing that they're going to remember more than anything is how much you care about them,
Right?
how much you love them, how much quality time you spend with them. It's very easy to go over to a whiteboard and write a workout down and then turn your back and maybe not even talk to your swimmers for the rest of practice. I think it's easy to do that.
Right. You're just working on a system then. You're just working on an energy system. You just get fit,
Yeah. At Boaz, we never do that. I do not own a whiteboard. We do our workouts straight out of our head, from our mouths straight to the swimmers. When we change sets, we all change the set together, and we do everything pretty much together. We have different skill levels where people are doing different things, on different intervals and all of that. But I want them to know I'm interacting with you at practice. You're important to me. I want to be important to you. Your teammates should be important to you, and we should all love each other. We're a part of something bigger here than just you beating your time. Beating your time is very, very important. That's the goal. That's the means to the end, right? But it's not the most important thing. The most important thing is you being a part of this thing that's bigger than you.
Yeah.
This team, these relationships that you're building. That's the most important thing that we can ever do in coaching.
That's a great message, because we say these days, the word, that people talk about these days is, kids have changed, because they're always in their phones and this. Well, They get that from us too.
Yeah.
Like if we're on the pool deck and we're on our phone and we're not interacting, we're sitting down and we're not engaged in what they're doing and how they're doing it. Like you said, you're verbally giving it to them. You're watching, you're adjusting. That's the love that you're showing them. And that's coaching, and that should be the goal. If I could write back and say, what's the goal? That's the goal, is like connect with the kids and get them to know that we care about them.
Yep.
And then the times will take care of themselves.
Absolutely. No question about it. We, like I said, since we really dedicated ourselves to this, to doing things this way, we've had the most success as a team and as individuals that we've ever had before. Yeah. State championships, gold medals, all of that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I know you're a man of Christ, and I read you said you got into coaching because you felt like you were called to do it. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that's the truth. And but there was something that called me to kind of come and meet you and your family, Lachey, and just kind of show my love and respect to Peyton on that day. I don't know what it was. I picked up the newspaper and I read it, and I just said, I got to go down there and see these people. So I didn't know. I felt really awkward. Like I've never done that before or again since then, by the way, like just randomly turned up to someone's funeral. It's not something that you really volunteer for very often, but I just felt a calling, and I just when I was down, and as soon as I got there, I was like, how am I going to get received here? Like I don't want to be the center of attention at all. I don't want to even let them know who I am. I just had a gift that I felt like I had to give you guys. I think it was a sweatshirt, an Auburn swimming sweatshirt for Peyton.
Yep.
And you guys were just so beautiful, just so welcoming. And yeah, it was a tough day for everybody, and
we really appreciated you coming. We have that sweatshirt put in a very special place in his room, to be honest. And so, you said you felt a calling to come, and what has happened is since then, you and I have developed a really nice friendship. And if you hadn't come up that day, we wouldn't be sitting here talking. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And being able to get this message out to coach young coaches and maybe even some older coaches, to make sure we're making the main thing, right?
Right.
Loving our kids and making sure that they know that.
Well, it's a good message from me, getting back on the deck after 5 years. I haven't been on the deck in 5 years, and I'm stepping back on. And, to be quite honest, as much as I've been there and done that and had plenty of years to talk about to some of the greatest coaches and assess them, getting back on, it feels, strange, and it's nerve-wracking and scary at times, because you feel the responsibility. These kids are coming in, they don't know who you are, they don't know your background, they don't care. They just want someone who connects with them. They're 10, 11, 12 years old. They don't know my resume or whatever. They could care less. So it's like, just how are you going to treat me? That's what they're looking at. And I'm thinking to myself, well, how am I going to treat them? How am I going to respond to you? How am I going what tone am I setting? And how am I going to create an environment that they want to come back to every day, and that they're also challenged? All those things. There's a lot of questions that you have to answer when you're leading a pool deck like that, isn't there?
Yeah, I think it's important that you also don't let the inmates run the asylum, right? You're still the coach. And so you want to make sure that they still know you're in charge. You're still going to discipline them when they need it, but that's part of loving them, right? It's making sure that they're doing what's right, that they're participating in the sport the right way, that they're competing in the right way. All of those things are so important in the field of coaching, and them still knowing that you're in charge. That's the thing.
Give us some advice on that, because you've had to discipline people, and I'm sure there's times where you feel like you've got it right, other times you got it wrong. We've all done that. But in terms of the best advice you can give in terms of when you need to discipline an individual, what's the best way to do it?
I've always felt like if an individual was keeping other swimmers from trying to reach their goal, or trying to keep other swimmers from working hard, maybe in their same lane, they're goofing off or whatever, then the discipline needs to come. So sometimes that's some time out of the pool. Sometimes that's, hey, I'm going to send you home for today. Sometimes you're going to get in another lane and swim 1,000 butterfly. There are a lot of different ways that you can discipline. The most important thing is that you're getting their attention and they know why you're doing that. You're not going to, you may not want to achieve the goals that we've set for you. You may not want to achieve the goals you've set for yourself, but you're not going to keep other people from achieving their goals. So once they come to understand that, once they understand that you have their best interest at heart, then that discipline becomes less and less, and they begin to see, oh, okay, I get it now. This guy really wants me to achieve something. He wants me to excel at something. And so if you're firm and you get it right the first time, and look, we don't always get it right the first time. I can remember being a young coach and taking a tennis ball and throwing it at one of my swimmers one time. And that was not the right thing to do. You step back, you learn from that. Hey, how could I have handled this a little bit better?
Right.
There are ways you can discipline, even in this day and age, right? This day and age where sometimes parents don't think their kids do anything wrong. But the fact of the matter is that all kids do things wrong, all of them, just like we did. And so there's times when discipline needs to come, and sometimes you have to pick your battles.
Right. What about the opposite of that then? What about praise? How do you distribute that? Like you can overpraise somebody and then you can also underpraise them for when they're doing something right. What's the best balance there you felt?
I think I probably have become known in these parts for congratulating our swimmers that are probably the lesser talented more than I do the ones who are more talented. And that's something that I've had to work on. I need to congratulate all levels. I need to go by and give them high fives. I have a coaching staff of 5 other people plus me. So we have a lot of folks that are giving constructive criticism, that are coaching. And I have kind of gotten to be that cheerleader kind of guy. I've got to wear, a high five, and they know if I'm giving them a high five, I've been in this sport for a really long time now. If I'm giving them a high five, I think they know that they've done something pretty special. So I try to do that with everybody, because again, you're not going to have an Olympic swimmer in every race. In fact, we've never had a swimmer from Boaz even go to the trials, not one. But we have a great program nevertheless, and they are congratulated for beating their time, for doing something that they've never done before. You want to try to congratulate all the kids, because you can always find something that they did well, always.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you're right. You can get caught up in saying the same thing to the same kids all the time and overlooking the ones that are probably just doing things right all the time, don't get recognized enough for it as well either. Take it for granted a little bit.
For sure. And they need that. They need that positive affirmation, just like the lesser talented ones do.
Right. Yeah. Well, this has been cool, man. This has been awesome. The lessons here, I think, are valuable for any coach at any level. It doesn't matter if you're at the high school level or the Olympic level. These are valuable lessons that I think need to be taught. What's the best? Has been the best type of resources for you to learn and grow in the swimming community as you've gone through this thing?
Well, I had a great mentor. His name was Andy Duckett. He's actually my cousin. And he taught me a lot of what I know. But one of the things that I've done is I've really heavily leaned on my assistant coaches, and they do a lot of our nuts and bolts at practice. And they are constantly learning things through conversations they have with other coaches on deck at meets. And you can always learn things from watching the World Championships and listening to commentators on television. You've got there are millions of YouTube videos out there about how you can help swimmers improve, and certainly there are clinics that can come into your pool and will help you do things and teach swimmers, but also teach coaches how to improve technique and that kind of thing. So we've tried to do a lot of that over the course of our years, and especially in the last 10.
That's what I was going to say. I just remembered now. Have you had the great fortune of maybe having someone come back, years later and being like, "Thanks, coach. Like you really I needed to hear that, or I needed that discipline, or, you had an impact on me. Have you had the pleasure of getting that experience yet?
Yeah, I really do. I actually hear it a lot, quite frankly, which is always a blessing.
Yeah.
You enjoy hearing those things. At the same time, you can't get too vain, and you can't get too puffed up about it. You have to just say, "Well, I appreciate that. I really do." And the way that you pay that back off is you go back on the pool deck the next day and do the same thing that you've been doing for all these years to try to help the next generation or the next group of kids do the same thing.
Yeah. Well, good stuff, mate. I appreciate it. It's been great catching up again. And, what's the next few months look like? What are you dealing with? What are you doing?
Well, I work in the athletic department at Jacksonville State University now as a working retiree, since I've retired from teaching and pretty much coaching. So I'm working there in athletic business and working part-time. I'm really enjoying that. And I'm the public address announcer for Jack State football and basketball. And I do some ESPN Plus for softball and baseball some. So staying pretty busy and really enjoying. I'm kind of in a second career now where I'm doing a lot of broadcasting and PA work. So
nice. I love it. Well, you got one of those accents. When I first moved to Australia, from Australia, as a 21-year-old, I met guys like you, and I was like, what is he saying?
Well, we have a very strong accent here on Sand Mountain anyway. So
yeah, now I can understand you, man. So good catching up. Appreciate it, man.
All right. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Great to be with you.